Even in the modern day, you can count on your hand the number of characters whose impact on the world of One Piece was truly groundbreaking. These individuals shattered the status quo of the seas and had dragged the world into a new era. Characters who fit this description include the Pirate King Gol D Roger, along with Whitebeard, and to varying degrees all of the Yonko. But there is still one character who stands above the rest, as not only did he have an impact upon the world during his life, but he had an even bigger one following his death. I am of course talking about Kozuki Oden. Despite his very brief appearances within the story, Oden managed to find his way to some of the most important moments and events within all of the story. He had sailed with the strongest man in the world, Whitebeard, he had joined the Pirate King, and had become an integral part of his success in unveiling the mysteries of the poneglyphs as well as reaching Laugh Tale, and he had even taken part in a deadly battle against the King of the Beasts Kaido over the fate of Wano. Oden's impact upon One Piece both in the present timeline and in the past is unmistakable. His links between multiple generations, even dating all the way back to the Void Century, paint a very complex picture which suddenly turns Oden into one of the most influential characters in the entire story. And once you dig past the surface and truly break down Oden's character and his actions, then the true depth of both his character and his role within One Piece truly begin to emerge. So without further delay, let's begin my deep dive and breakdown into the character of Kozuki Oden. We're going to be starting from the very beginning by discussing his early years as we deep dive into his backstory. Oden was born into the noble Kozuki family, the ruling family of Wano country. From a very young age, he exhibited extraordinary strength and an adventurous spirit, as he had become notorious for his wild behavior and rebellious nature, often causing trouble within the Flower Capital. At the age of 1, Oden was capable of throwing grown adults to the ground. At the age of 4, he killed a bear by throwing a boulder at it, and by the time that he was 8, he had began drinking booze and regularly fought with gamblers around the capital. And by the age of 9, he had been blacklisted by Wano's Yakuza from their casinos due to the damage that he would cause. In return, Oden set their casino on fire, starting a long conflict with them, which had resulted in his capture and arrest nearly a year later after he had almost killed someone. He had spent the next few years sentenced to hard labor within prison before his release at the age of 14. After accidentally flooding the capital by rerouting a river through it in order to aid a drought, Oden again went on the run. It was during this time that he had first attempted to set sail into the wider world, though he failed on every attempt. He was disowned and banished from the capital at the age of 18, and this was after he had taken responsibility for an attack by a mountain god, which is a great boar which Oden defeated, which had been drawn to the capital by Kinemon and Denjiro. In return for Oden's kindness, the pair had begun following him, eventually becoming 2 of his retainers. Upon Oden's exile, he had begun traveling across Wano, leaving a significant impact upon the various regions that he had come across. Despite his unconventional ways, he was deeply charismatic and had attracted followers who had admired his strength and resolve. Oden's adventures eventually led him to Kuri, a lawless region within Wano. There he had defeated the infamous criminal Ashura Doji and had unified the region, thus bringing peace and order to it. His actions had brought him back into his father's favor and had earned him the title of Daimyo of Kuri. During his time in Kuri, Oden expanded his friendship group until eventually establishing a close-knit group of retainers, who would later become known as the 9 Red Scabbards. This loyal group of samurai remained very close to him and would accompany him to wherever he went. Later, Oden would come to learn about the arrival of the Whitebeard pirates within the borders of Wano, and despite the reluctance of both the Whitebeard crew and captain, he would join them on their travels. During the following years, he would marry his wife Toki and have 2 children called Momonosuke and Hiyori, and it's here where he finally started to explore the wider world of One Piece. His thirst for knowledge and adventure would lead him to sail with the Roger pirates after some time, as he had helped the Pirate King in his journey to unravel the mysteries of the world. During this time, he played a critical role in Roger's journey to Laugh Tale, along with the discovery of the One Piece. this. Oden's knowledge of the ancient script and his ability to read poneglyphs was instrumental in uncovering the true history of the world. Following the disbandment of the Roger Pirates, Oden had returned to Wano with the intention of opening the country's borders to the world. He was inspired to do this thanks to his travels across the world along with all of the knowledge that he had gained. However, upon his return, he had found that Wano was under the impressive rule of Kurozumi Orochi and the pirate Kaido. Oden attempted to confront Orochi but was deceived and forced into a humiliating dance in order to save his people. He had believed that this was going to protect them. After 5 years, Oden finally decided to take direct action as he had launched into battle against Kaido himself. Their epic clash was monstrous in scale, with Oden becoming the first person to leave a permanent scar on Kaido's body. Unfortunately, Oden's rebellion had come to an end when he was defeated by Kaido after being tricked into thinking that his children had been taken hostage. Oden was captured and sentenced to execution by being boiled alive. In a final act of defiance and heroism, he endured the boiling oil for an hour in order to save his retainers, as they were stood on a plank which he was holding above the red-hot cauldron. His final words encouraged his followers to carry on his mission to open Wano's borders. Oden's death left a profound impact upon the nation of Wano along with his retainers, the 9 Red Scabbards. They were inspired by his sacrifice as they continued to fight against Orochi and Kaido, aiming to fulfill Oden's final request, which was his desire for a free and open Wano. Oden's children Momonosuke and Hiyori also played crucial roles in their struggle to liberate their homeland. Many years later, the Straw Hat Pirates led by Monkey D. Luffy would arrive in Wano and ally with Oden's retainers, as this alliance was successful in toppling Kaido and thus fulfilling Oden's legacy by finally freeing Wano. We can learn a lot about Oden's character simply from examining his life as shown to us by Oda. We are also able to gain a far greater level of context and understanding by looking into the inspirations which Oda had used when he was designing Oden as a character. Oden's style, story, and his death can all be broadly attributed to 3 separate and extremely famous sources of inspiration. Let's start by talking about the most well-known source of inspiration amongst anime and manga fans, and this is the incredibly influential, famous samurai Miyamoto Musashi. Musashi was considered as the greatest and most feared samurai of his age, and he was one of the greatest swordsmen of all time. The parallels with Musashi and Oden's status as the strongest samurai from the land of Wano are very clear, especially when you consider the fact that they both had the unique ability of utilizing 2 swords in combat when almost everybody else was only using a single sword. Now, the inspiration behind Oden's life is slightly more obscure, as it is derived from the Japanese Shinto god of the seas, storms, and fields. This god is called Susanoo no Mikoto. There are several parallels between Oden and this Shinto god. Both characters were considered to be violently impulsive and would often commit outrageous and sometimes scandalous acts due to their bravado and recklessness. This ultimately culminates in both of these characters being banished from their respective homelands as a punishment. In search of redemption, both Oden and Susanoo would aim to atone for their deeds by committing great acts of heroism in defense of others. For Oden, this took the form of his taming of Kuri, where he restored order to the previously lawless region, and for the god Susanoo, it was his defeat of the monstrous 8-headed serpent called Yamata no Orochi, the mythical creature who obviously inspired the character Kurozumi Orochi. And of course, we know that Oden had a personal vendetta against Orochi and also had multiple conflicts against him. Now finally, both Susanoo and Oden wielded signature swords of the same name called the Ame no Habakiri. The end of Oden's life, however, corresponds to a different, far more tragic Japanese figure of history called Ishikawa Goemon, a semi-legendary Japanese outlaw hero who had lived in the 16th century and who was executed by being boiled alive in an iron cauldron. Goemon was boiled alive alongside his young son. This sentence was passed following Goemon's unsuccessful infiltration of Fushimi Castle in an attempt to assassinate the daimyo Hideyoshi in order to avenge the death of his wife and the capture of his son. We learned that Goemon had managed to save the life of his son by holding him above his head while he himself was submerged in the boiling water, and this is similar to how Oden had saved the lives of his retainers. Ultimately, Goemon's son was spared from death as a result of his actions, though he himself ended up perishing just like Oden. The fate of Kozuki Oden is incredibly tragic, especially considering the events of the present timeline of One Piece. It is thanks to his legacy that the country of Wano was finally freed years after his death, and this isn't an uncommon theme within One Piece, where the passing of the torch onto the next generation is something that we see in multiple characters, from individuals like Gol D, Roger and Whitebeard, and even with individuals like Shanks and Garp, and on a more broader scale, the character of Joy Boy, who passes on his torch to the next generation via the will of D. Thankfully, when it comes to Oden's character, we've seen all of his story and his dream actualized. Oden's life was heavily influenced by the prophecy that the Kozuki family will play a crucial role in the world's liberation by opening the borders of Wano. This prophecy is a significant aspect of Oden's destiny as it guides his actions and his decisions. Oden's goal for liberating Wano fits perfectly with the Roger pirates' pursuit of the One Piece, as their partnership truly seeks to uncover the secrets of the world. Oden's execution is a catalyst which had sparked the ongoing struggle in Wano. His death, marked by his incredible endurance and final defiant act, solidifies his status as a legendary figure and a martyr for freedom. The 9 Red Scabbards and the people of Wano drew strength from Oden's legacy. His story inspired them to continue fighting against the oppressive rule of Orochi and Kaido. They had kept the spirit of rebellion alive long after Oden's death. Oden's will was directly inherited by his retainers, the 9 Red Scabbards, along with his children Momonosuke and Hiyori, and I believe that the will of Oden was also inherited by Luffy and the Straw Hats. The will of Oden and the life that he had led truly resonates with Luffy, as the two characters share in similar values of freedom and adventure. Luffy's commitment to Oden's cause highlights the thematic connection between the inherited will and the ongoing struggle for liberation within the world of One Piece. The tale of Oden once again emphasizes how interconnected all of these individual destinies are within One Piece's larger narrative. Oden's journey outside of Wano reflects the broader theme of characters' fates being intertwined with the history of the world. The idea of destiny being inevitable truly exists within One Piece, and this is emphasized massively via the prophecy about the Kozuki family being responsible for the opening of Wano's borders. This prophecy is massively linked to Oden's life and his death, as he had played a pivotal role in the fulfillment of this prophecy, once again via this idea of inherited will. The fascinating thing about One Piece is that the will of so many significant historical figures persists on to the modern generation, as the strength of these inherited wills go on to shape the future of the story. Kozuki Oden is one of the most influential characters in all of One Piece, and he plays a huge part as a member of the Pirate King's crew, and ultimately he is the one with the knowledge capable of deciphering the poneglyphs which had allowed Roger's crew to reach Laugh Tale. As I've discussed within this video, Oden's character is linked to a broader theme of destiny, free will, and the importance of passing on the torch to the next generation. His story emphasizes the enduring power of ideals and the importance of passing on one's will in order to inspire those who come after you. I've really enjoyed talking about Oden's character. He's easily my favorite newly introduced character in the Wano arc, and now we've reached the point of the video where I want to hand over the discussion to all of you. Let me know your thoughts about the legendary Kozuki Oden. If there's anything that I've forgotten to mention about his character, then let me know in the comments of this video. And lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this One Piece character breakdown, and I cannot wait to see you in my next One Piece Explained video.
If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.